Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. Today, I am going to show you some information about real estate market update again. And in this episode, we see the information about buyer leverage actually growing and the seller momentum slips again. So if you recall, last week we talked about how the seller potentially have some movement toward the seller side, right? But now we actually see it's down again. So what is it? Okay, we're gonna look at this is one of the updates that you cannot afford to miss. So check it out. Okay, it's gonna be 15-20 minutes talk. I know it's long, so if you don't have time to review all the videos, I have a link right here that you can click, you scan and read all the information on the website. All right. So with that, let's dive right into the information. Number one, let's look at some of the Comfort Market Index. So if you know, I follow the Comfort Market Index very well. Okay. The Comfort Market Index is a very good number that actually represent the market condition. And if you are falling about like more than 110 is a seller market, 90 to 110 is a balanced market, and we see 76 point. That's actually 4.1% drop from previous week. All right. So we are actually in a very, very deep buyer market, as you see. Actually, only 3 cities that in the sellers market, and all of them is extremely weak sellers market. Okay. 8 is in the balance market, and 6 is in the buyer's market, full buyer's market. Okay. As you see, it reminded seller market is 110. So we are looking at majority of the 17 cities is actually now in favor of the buyers or in neutral, right? Both the buyers and the seller has the negotiation power, the same negotiation power in the balance market. Obviously, we see that the sellers are losing the battleground, okay? And it's happening faster than last week. In fact, this, like I said, is 4.1% drop right here. If you recall, last week, we only 3.2% drop. Now, this week, we have 4.1% drop. So actually, it's going to be much and much faster drop for the seller. Some of the cities that is still in the seller, who can guess? Who can take a guess? Which one is still in the seller market? Well, Chandler is number 1, Tempe is number 2, and Gilbert is number 3. Those are the cities that are still in the seller's market, and obviously the seller has a little bit negotiation power in those areas. Okay, and let's look at here. Yeah, we talked about that. So let's go next to the 2 new trends emerging this way. So what are the trends that we are going to see? Okay, number 1, supply is down. Okay, we actually see the number of supply going down. Okay, so is it good or bad for the seller? It's actually very good for the seller. Okay, for the first time in months, because for the first time in several months, okay, we see that the number of listing is less. As you see here, from January to April, on average, we have like 10,000 listing every single month. In May, it's only 9,857. Okay, so it's drop. It's down. So it's actually when the inventory goes down, that means there's less competition. Okay, so and therefore the buyer more likely to choose your house rather than someone else's house, right? What about demand? That's actually the trend number 2. This is actually a bigger problem. Even though the inventory goes down a little bit, which is good news for the seller, the demand is also down. Okay, and it's sliding very fast, as you see here in since 2000, right? Week 18 count the listing under how we know the demand is by counting the under contract, right? Because if the buyer doesn't have any interest in buying a house, they're not gonna make an offer, they're not gonna be under contract, right? So as long as we can count the buyer under contract, we know what's going on. Okay, and 2000 in 2000, right? We have about 4,500, 5,000, right? 45, 4,800. During the recession, okay, about 3,000 the demand. But now at this level, week 18 of, I think this is a typo, of 2025, right? We only a little bit less than 3,000. Okay, so that is a very horrible news. That means fewer buyers are locking in deals, and despite falling price and slightly lower mortgage rate, they don't care. The buyer actually don't care about buying anymore, and that's a huge problem for this current market. So while the sellers are getting break from the lower inventory, right? Fewer buyers are also show up. Okay, what's the better side? Because when I look at the number like that, right, even though it scare a lot of buyers, I'm looking at it as a way for the buyers to get less competition as well. Think about it, as a serious buyer, you should take advantage of this, because you know why? Inventory is high, still high, even it goes down, but it is still high. Mortgage rate is dropping, right? And you have less competition as well. That is the best situation for the buyers to put in any negotiation price that the buyers want. So if you are serious looking to buy a house in the next 3 or 6 months, this is the time for you to act. Don't wait before the new trend, the new market come up, right? You're gonna deal with more competition if the market change again. So I would definitely consider buying and taking action right now. All right. So what about price? Okay, we have the price that is dropping. Okay, 2.1, 2 point dropping. So we see that as of now, the average square footage per square feet, okay, across all the areas and property types is actually only $295 per square foot. Okay, that's down 2.4% compared to January, and I'm sorry, this is today, and down 3.7% from previous year. Okay. So even if the price stay flat like this for the rest of the year, assuming it stay flat, right? We'll still end 2025 with a lower average price than we started. Okay, so that is like here, January 2025, right? So if you've been reading headlines predicting steady pricing for the price for the year, take that with a grain of salt. Okay, forecasts from Zillow or NAR and other are starting to look very optimistic, overly optimistic. Okay, right now the more likely outcome is the net decline in the pricing by the end of the year. Okay, meaning that you're not gonna have the same price around 2025, the beginning of 2025. It's gonna go down. Okay, so that is the trend right now, and I believe that is true, right? The price is gonna continue goes down, because if I'm the buyers right now on the market, I'm gonna negotiate really hard, and when I negotiate, well, what does impacting the price, right? So if I negotiate a lot like this, it's gonna continue dropping the price. So it's gonna be good. It doesn't mean that you're gonna wait until the end of the year to make the action. I'm not recommend that. That's actually not my recommendation, because here's a fact: you don't know the future. You cannot predict the future. No one can predict. No one can know the future for sure. All I know as of right now is you can make the negotiation very hard. So let's do that right now instead of waiting for the end of the year, which you never know what happened. Okay, it could go up, it could go down. Okay, so I would say as of right now, if you're thinking about 3 to 6 months time frame, this is the time for you to act. Okay, what does that mean to the buyers and the seller in today's market? Okay, we already talked a little bit about this in this video and other videos as well. This is the time that the buyers, you get the upper hand, meaning that most the seller are more willing to negotiate with you on price. Okay, cover closing costs and offer concession. They actually very willing to. And I have a situation that we under contract for $10,000 less than asking, and we also ask for 3% concession, and they pay for my commission as well. So the buyers does not have to pay that amount of commission. Okay, so very great, right? You buy a house, you have someone to help you. You don't have to pay anything. You get 3% closing cost concession, and you get 10,000 in price reduction. Okay, and that not to mention the price already dropped like hundreds of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars when they first started. Okay, so definitely take a look. Inventory isn't rising, okay, but it's still high enough for you to have more choice. Okay, so like I said, it's around 10,000 from the beginning of the year, but now it's around 9,800, so it's, which is really good as well. With the demand is weakening, okay, sellers are starting to sweat, so give you more chance to leverage. Okay, don't lowball. Okay, now here's the key: when you can negotiate, doesn't mean that you should lowball. Okay, for example, if the house is 400, it doesn't mean that you're gonna do like 300 or 200. No one gonna they're not going to look at that. Okay, unless the house is in such a distressed situation and they have to sell, they must sell, right? Otherwise it's a waste of time for you to do that. Okay, it's the seller is not in that situation in this market, even though it take longer, but they would rather than do something else than losing $100,000 or $200,000 because you negotiate that much. Okay, um uh, pricing is very important. So make the right strategy instead of just throwing a number that is good to you and not good to the seller. Okay, for the seller, talking about seller, all right, the window to sell without heavy concession is closing. All right, is gone. Right, so if you price too high, you will sit forever. If your house needs update, expect to be used against you in a negotiation, you need to price very aggressively. Okay, and you have to be more flexible, you have to be more creative. Talk to your agent about some of the offers that you can do to be able to attract the right buyer to your house. Okay, so thank you so much, everyone, for watching this episode. I know it's kind of quick program, but if you are interested and you cannot see the whole video, this is the website I think you can go to and read all the information are there. Like always, if you have any interest in like an area specific market, I can give that to you as well. And thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.